Yes. So for the record, I'll answer to Brandy, Brittany, Stephanie, or Sandy. That's how it works. Yes. Yeah. My dad, who is also in the business, and that's how I got started in this crazy world of finance. I grew up in the industry. My dad likes to tell people that he has born and brainwashed me to do this. I grew up in the halls of conventions and listening to wholesalers talk, and then I decided at 32 I would stop ignoring the fact that I'm exactly like my father and go ahead and go into the business. So that's what I did. I've been in this industry for 8 years now officially. But I am a part of Sandy Bay Partners. And contrary to what your agenda says, we no longer do conservation easements. That is a thing of the past. In the end of 2022, passed a law that makes it not really valuable to do it in partnerships anymore. It's still good. You know, we always say the government wanted it for the billionaires, but not for the poor millionaires of the world. So doing it privately, it's still beneficial, but doing it in a partnership doesn't really work, which is what we were doing at the time in Sandy Bay, is we were doing CEs. Thank you. And then we made a switch of fee simple, which is just a couple letters up in the tax code. It's 170A as an apple instead of 170H, which would be conservation easements. And we do fee simple, or what we like to call them is charitable land donations, because that's what they are. So I'll tell you a little bit about the company and how we got started, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the offering we have now. And then I'm going to open it up for Q&A, because I'm not going to talk to you for 50 minutes today. You won't, you'll get a little break to stretch your legs before lunch. You're welcome. You guys have been doing this for 3 days now, so I'm going to give you a little rest. Our company was started in 2018 by our founder, David Johnson. He had been in real estate since he was 18. His parents also born and brainwashed him to do an industry. They made all of their children get their real estate license at 18 and start in the business. He got the commercial side and started doing personal conservation easements for wealthy individuals. And then after the listed transaction notice came out, he decided, I'm going to do this as a partnership, which a man from the Wall Street Journal asked him, are you crazy, or why did you get into this industry after it became a listed transaction? And he said, well, I had been doing it all along, and then I saw ways to get better than even the tax code asks us to, and I went ahead and did that. So the way that he structured deals from the beginning was with the tax code in mind and defensibility in mind, knowing that deals like this are audited at the level of partnership at a very high rate. They made a claim that for conservation easements, they were going to audit 100% of them, held true to, and created themselves quite a bottleneck of deals that they still have yet to get into tax court with. They've offered a lot of deals to a lot of sponsors that weren't very good for investors. We've been offered all those same deals and will not take those, because we believe in our product, we believe in our valuation, and we want the opportunity to defend it in tax court. So we are still holding strong from the deals we did in 2018. They have not yet made it to tax court yet. Yeah, and now Trump has come in, thank God for our industry. And it has changed a lot of things. He's fired a lot of the IRS, so I don't see them getting to all of that line any quicker than they were before. But let me go back to where we started. So we started in 2018 doing conservation easements. We deal with commodities in our conservation: oil and metallurgical coal. And now we are specifically just metallurgical coal, which I say that like everybody knows what metallurgical coal is, right? I didn't before we started doing it, so don't feel bad if you don't. However, it is talked about on the news a lot, right? Because met coal is now part of Trump's big agenda to bring steel manufacturing back to the United States, because you have to have met coal to make new steel. There's no other way to do it. that they use to smelt iron and ore together to create steel. You need 1 ton of met coal to make 1 ton of new steel. So if we want to bring back production to the US, if we want to have our steel manufacturing and other manufacturing here, we need met coal. Well, guess what? We got a ton of land rich in metallurgical coal in West Virginia. So we started doing conservation easements, which on top of the valuation of the land, we also had to prove every flora, fauna, plant, animal, anything that we were going to conserve in perpetuity on these properties. So it was very complicated. There's a lot of layers to CEs that you have to stay in line with, and we followed those all to the letter of the law. And the things that we did differently that other sponsors didn't do, that we talk about very openly, we wish other people would do it as well. They have yet to, which due to the cost. We have never had a conversation, never sent an email, never met in person, never went on a plane, a train, a car ride with an appraiser that has appraised any of our land. We have that all go through a third party. Our lawyers do all of that, which I don't know how much you have done with any of your lawyers, but it is very expensive to have them do anything for you. And that does come at a higher cost to us, but we believe it's worth it, because when David Johnson sits down with the IRS, the bulk of their questions revolve around, when did you meet the appraiser? What kind of conversations did you have with him? Was there any colluding? Was there any trying to get an inflation of your valuation? So he says, I've never met him, never talked to him. We do it all through a third party. And then they're like, oh, okay. They don't really know what to ask then. He'll go in and sit down for about 5 deals at a time for the initial interview. And it usually takes 6 to 8 hours with most people. And it goes away in about 3 hours for David, because it takes a bulk of those conversations out of their holster for them. We kind of try to de-weaponize the IRS by doing things in a way that we're not only doing it the way they ask us to, but above reproach, that our ethics and the way that we do things can't be questioned, which is how lives. We all have families. We don't want to have any trouble with the IRS. So that's part of our defensibility strategy. We did CEs from 2018 until 2022, when they changed the law at the end of the year. And then we pivoted to fee simple or charitable land donations, which is what we work with now. The first year we did a couple that were oil and the rest were met coal. In 2024, and now it's all met coal for us. We are all in on metallurgical coal. We're actually starting a second company that'll be out next year, where we're doing mining of metallurgical coal, straight mining, no donation option, high returns to the investors, and a way to be a part of the new, what they're calling the new industrial revolution in West Virginia. The governor of West Virginia, Governor Morrissey, who we have a relationship with and have been spending a lot of time with, has stated he would like to make West Virginia the energy state again, that they are going hard on bringing back coal to West Virginia, and we're playing a big part in that. Both in the properties that we will be straight developing with them, but also in the land that we are going to be donating, don't have to conserve, but can donate if the investors choose to nonprofit organizations. Because the organization can then go in, since they don't have to conserve, and have a mining company mine that property for them and get the royalties off of that for the life of the mine. So that's the charitable side of it. So we started in 23 doing these fee simples where we no longer have to conserve, and now we can donate. We work with 2 organizations right now and are always open to new ones for next year or the following years, because it takes a lot of 2 charitable organizations that we are currently working with. One is called 10 Clicks. It's a veterans organization. It works with veterans with PTSD and disabilities, and they take them on retreats and they get them into a group of community that understands exactly what they've been through. Sorry, I get emotional about this. These guys are so great. They do retreats with the families. They do retreats with couples. They do retreats for women. They do retreats people who run this organization, my husband and I just went to Texas for a fundraiser of theirs and got to spend time with them and hear their stories. And they all birthed this organization out of their own pain and their own disabilities and their own PTSD and things that they've gone through, because they just wanted to let people know that there was somebody out there who knew what they were going through, and that they wanted to link arms with them and say, you don't have to end your life. It happens a lot with veterans. Yeah. Yeah. And one of the people who spoke at the organization fundraiser that I was just at is a guy who actually tried to end his life and shot himself in the head and is now blind and has had to relearn how to do everything in life, including has made an app to make it more accessible with people with all sorts of sight issues to use technology in a real and powerful way, including going back to school. He did all that after he tried to end his life. And he came to one of these retreats and realized, I got to help somebody too. So the organization is incredible. We love this. We had donated properties to them in the past that were conserved, and they've used those properties to take people bow hunting and doing things like that on it, things they were allowed to do within the guidelines. And now we're able to take the development plan that's already in our PPM, because all of our deals are written like a development deal, like here's how we're going to mine this out for you. And they'll be able to take it to a mining company that we can introduce them to, mine the property, and they will get millions of dollars of coal royalties. I don't know why those two words together are hard to say. Coal royalties for 5 to 7 years off of just one property, and we'll donate them if donation is chosen. Now, I keep saying if donation is chosen because there's a caveat to these tax codes, and there always has to be a vote. So when our fund closes, currently we have one right now called Chestnut Oak Ridge. It's a $24,650,000 raise. If donation is chosen, so we have people invest in it, it closes, and then there's a vote. Would you like to? We have to have 3 things. So one of them is hold. Nobody's ever chosen hold. Why would you just be like, I want to put my money in here and not do anything? I guess if there was like a COVID and we needed to hold for a while, that could be used. The other one is they can develop the property and make a very good return on coal, or they can donate the property. Now, if donation is chosen, that property again is donated to an organization, and then that triggers a write-off for the client. So if your client puts money in this, the multiple on it based on the highest and best use of the land, the metallurgical coal we believe can be taken out of that ground, they get a multiple of around 4.5 to 5 times their money. So your client puts in 100,000, they can write off 450 to 500,000 from their adjusted gross income. So if you have somebody who's earning $1.5 million, hey, guess what? You're only going to pay taxes on $1 million of that. Nice savings for your clients in the highest tax bracket. I'll let you guys do the math on it. You're the CPAs. That's not my role. I tell people all the time, I'm not a CPA, not your CPA. Don't ask me for tax advice. I can only tell you about our product. So if donation, yeah. It says on the PPM 50,000. However, if your client would benefit from doing a $25,000 donation, we're totally okay with that. Okay, so, also they can only write off up to the 30% of their adjusted gross income, whereas with CEs, we had 50%. Sad we don't have that anymore, but we have 30% with this, which is pretty powerful. So if that's chosen, that's what will happen. They would get the write-off. They'll get a K1, not by April 15th. I know we would love to have K1s for you by April 15th, but that's never in the life of alternative have I ever seen that happen. So, and I know everybody will ask us and everybody will hound you, and I'm very sorry about that, but we make it very clear when talking to clients, expect to have to extend, which I'm sure with any of your high net worth clients who are doing yeah, you have to do that anyways. It doesn't keep people from asking though. So I get on auto repeat in March and April. Yes, you're going to need to extend. Yes, you will need to extend. But they'll get a K1 that will go along with their investment, and you can put that into their tax return for 2025's taxes. Oh, the other organization that we work with too is the National Tennis Association. And what they do is they use scholarships to help kids in lower income areas get into private schools and then eventually into college to be able to use tennis as a way to be able to get them on a path that can take them to different places. We actually have two former pro tennis players who are on our sales team. So it's very near and dear to our heart. And we, as an organization, not myself personally, I don't know if you could tell, but I'm not usually a running around tennis kind of girl. That's not my MO. But a lot of us do play tennis, and we love this organization. We just started working with them last year. We'll continue in this year. And like I said, we're always looking for new organizations. If you have an organization that you want to send us, we'll do the due diligence on it and see if it's a good fit. If your clients do, we would love to work with other organizations as well, because this is a really powerful way for organizations to have a very healthy stream of income. For mines are usually 5 to 7 years lifetime, where they're actually producing. So we love that, and we love to be able to help. I always say it's a way to make your pocketbook and your feel good. So I love that for people. Now, a big question we always have is audit. People hear audit, and I'm sure especially as CPAs, you hear audit and you want to run away. I would as well, because that seems scary. But the good thing about it is they can only audit at the partnership level. Per their own code, they cannot go to individual investors until they have gone all the way through tax court with us, and for some reason would find our valuation was not what we said it was. Then after that, that's when it could go to individual investors. So if your clients, we have had this happen with some rogue IRS agents who like to send out scary letters that they're not allowed to individual investors. If investors get that, send it straight to us. We are the partnership. They are to come to us. We had an IRS agent who was doing that, and I'm happy to say she took early retirement this year. So she will know. I actually dressed like her for Halloween last year for a company party. I don't know what she looks like, but I was in a black suit and an IRS badge. It was awesome. Because that's scary. Somebody taking the law into their own hands and doing things against the IRS tax code. We don't want it with other sponsors in our space, and we don't want it coming from the IRS themselves. Now, I do think with our new administration and with the new IRS administration, we're going to see a lack of abuse that we have seen in the past on different types of offerings like this. We're doing a lot of lobbying in Washington to hopefully get some relief for our industry, for us first, because I mean we are not a nonprofit, so we are working hard to get a relief from the abuse that the IRS has had on sponsors in our space. And then hopefully that will make waves of change for the rest of the industry for people who are doing it the right way, right? Like if somebody's not doing this the right way, we don't want them in the space either. Like that just gives us a bad name. The fact that when I speak, most of the time people already have a negative view of what I do is not my favorite, I will tell you. When you're typically a liked person and then you walk into a room and people are like, it's like, that feeling doesn't sit great with me. So we are doing a lot of lobbying, as well as we're working a lot with the government in West Virginia. Like I said, we have a close relationship with Governor Morrissey. He's going to be coming to our ribbon cuttings when we open our mines. He is trying desperately to bring income back to the state of West Virginia, and we're trying to help him do that. I feel like I'm being very true to my roots. My grandfather was a coal miner in West Virginia. So bringing that Goff name back to West Virginia and helping to create jobs. Steel is going to be brought back to the U.S. in a big way. Nippon Steel just committed to bringing 2 new steel mills back to the U.S., and they are going to need millions of tons of metallurgical coal. And guess what? we have that for them. So it's going to be great. And we're going to be able to bring manufacturing back to the US, create jobs in the US, and bring the second industrial revolution back. And we're excited to be a part of that. Other points that I want to make sure we go, defensibility, defensibility, defensibility. I told you what we do when we don't meet with the appraisers. Here are some other things we do for defensibility. We set $1.5 million aside in every fund that can be used for an audit defense fund as needed, as well as $50 we set aside for additional investments. That is at the manager's discretion. Like I said, David is very well versed in real estate. He's done some different rezoning projects in Beaufort here, where he had property he rezoned for commercial and sold it, made a profit off that. We've done oil wells, we've done wetland mitigation, multiple different investments. And the goal of that is to bring revenue to the clients, but also if assets can be liquidated and also used for audit defense as needed for the partnership. And then another little fun rule that the IRS came up with is you can try 5 cases at a time if they're like-kind cases. All of our deals are like-kind cases. Metallurgical coal, West Virginia, similar in size, between 15 to 25 million. So we don't have $1.5 million and 15%. We have over $1 million to defend 5 of these funds at a time. We have the largest war chest of any sponsor in our space to be able to defend our funds, and that really matters. We're not the low-hanging fruit. They're not coming to us with these deals and we're taking it and running away because we don't have the money or the time to defend. David has signed up. He said, I'll give the next 10 years of my life to defend this fund, because that's about what it'll take to get through it. And by the way, clients are in these funds, feel free to tell them, invest in some safe 8 to 10 year investment with the savings you made on this. That way, worst case scenario, something went wrong and you had to pay that back, you'd have it. So there's lots of ways to hedge the what ifs for clients, and we're doing the best we can, and we're happy to give ideas of different investments. Obviously, when we have coal mines, invest in a coal mine, you'll make a great return on that. Other things that we do for defensibility, on every property that we have a purchase order in place from a coal buyer telling us we will buy all the coal on your property for X amount of dollars. So if the IRS says, well, I don't think it's worth that, well, really? I literally have a purchase order that tells me I can get paid what I told you this was worth. I would love to see them fight that. By the way, the guys who do appraisals that we don't meet or talk to are also the guys who do desk appraisals for the IRS. So if they have a problem with our appraisal, I think they have an internal problem as well, which we know they have other internal problems. Internal Revenue Service or Internal Problem Service. So we have our purchase orders in place, as well as we have voted to develop one of our deals last year. It was not on marketplace. It was one that we had a group of investors that are like, this deal is too good. Let us develop it and make the money off of it. So we are in the process of developing that one now, which I believe also helps with our valuation. We're literally proving our model. When USA Coal, our new company, is up, we will be proving our model. There's not coal on this property right now. Let me take you 2 miles down the road to our other property where we do have coal already on the ground for it. So we're putting lots of checks and balances in place that would make it incredibly difficult for them to fight our valuation, which is the goal. We're also, again, doing a lot of lobbying with the IRS to hopefully relieve some of that. And we're just continuing to add things to our defensibility. Every time we see an area that could be perceived as weakness, we're trying to shore up those corners so that we can have the most defensible product to put on the market to not only protect ourselves and the fund, but also you guys and your investors. It really matters to us. We do not want to be the sponsor that takes some crappy deal, leaves investors out to dry, and the CPAs or RIAs or registered reps are left holding the bag where they have to explain to their clients why they trusted somebody who just screwed them over, because that's not who we are. That's not what we want to do. And I will tell you, David Johnson has a healthy enough ego that he's playing in tax court and defending every one of those deals. And I love that about him. He wants to be the guy who stands up and does it the right way. That's why I want to be in this business. That's why I follow a leader like that. I was raised by a man, I told you I followed my dad into this, who has an incredibly high standard of integrity, and it's important to me. Then I got into this industry and was like, oh, that's not how everybody in this industry is. I was very much sheltered the fact that my dad had surrounded himself with incredibly integral people like Roger Remick, who he's known, I don't even know how long, probably 20 years or more. And I got to see the good side of it, which actually I see as a real benefit, because I don't have a bad taste in my mouth for this industry. So I have a lot of positivity and a lot of hope, and I want to bring that to clients and back it up with integrity and a company that's going to do the right thing for you guys. So, yes.
Even though I'm guessing most of your clients donate.
Yeah.
Do you have any that actually stay to invest?
Well, it's the whole fund. So it's a majority vote. So once we get over 50.1% that want to donate, the whole fund donates. Yes. And again, we had the one that developed last year, and clients who were like, I really want to develop. Well, guess what? We've created a whole other company for you, and we'll be doing that for you next year. And those returns are crazy. Yeah, we don't have a PPM yet, but the IRR is north of like 40%. So it's a pretty healthy return in a 5 to 7 year span for clients. So we're really excited about that for the return aspect of it, and also just, again, proving out more of our valuation. So I think I've covered a lot of what I wanted to talk about. I know you've had good questions. Does anybody else have questions? Because I want to make sure I'm happy to answer whatever you've got. If I can, if not, I'll get you an answer. Yeah.
No one mentioned I'm part of the elite resource team in San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
And we use Sandy Bay.
Amazing.
And so Sandy Bay has been vetted thoroughly. I have a tax plan right here using the leverage
charitable land donations. Yeah. I love that. Thank you. Who works with you guys at the elite resource team? Is that Eric?
I'm not sure exactly.
Okay.
I work for the plan out in California, but
yeah.
The resource team, the elite resource team uses a lot.
I love it. I love it. I love to hear it. I do. Thank you. Yeah. I did not plant him. I don't personally work with the elite resource team. I've heard of them though, so I love that. Yeah. I think that they are going to find ways to let the people who have done it well uphold their valuation, and I think that they will find ways to not audit it at such a high rate anymore. I don't know what the deals will look like. Currently, any of the deals that they've shown have not been great. So, yeah, they've been real bad. And I've been personally incredibly disappointed with other sponsors taking them, because honestly, it just makes us all look bad. Oh, well, like I said, our CEs from 2018 haven't even gotten to tax court yet. They created such an issue for themselves that it's going to take a lot to get them out of it. I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm not involved in our political lobbying. I pride myself to stay very far out of politics, because who needs that stress? I'm a working mom. I've got my own. So they're doing a lot of lobbying to hopefully maybe work out some kind of deal where there can be an administrative fee that you can pay if all your checks and balances work out, because they're not going to take no win, right? But that's where, if they did do something like that, We have all that money in our war chest, so we could easily pay that fee and be done with it. So I won't try to guess what those could look like at all because I don't know. Right. That's the goal. The goal is that we don't have to, obviously in our PPM, it says you can do a capital call. Find me any alternative investment that doesn't say you can do a capital call. I'd love to see that and wonder why they did that. But our goal is to not do a capital call. That's why we set so much money aside. In fact, in some of our earlier funds, because you don't know what you don't know. So in 2018, when we started, I believe they were, I didn't join 22. And I believe they were doing 500,000 or 750 they set aside. So the additional investment stream of oil wells that they did, they kept that until each fund had $1.5 million, because we believe that's the right number. You need to have at least that per fund to be able to defend these. So we've beefed up our own contingency funds from the past to make sure we had all of that ready and willing and could, put into action at any moment if ready. But again, we're 7 years in and they like to kick the can. At about 3 years, which is their time limit, they'll do a request for documents. And yeah, and then about every 12 months, you get a different kind of request. And I think at about 5 years in, they do the interview with David for, 5 deals at a time kind of a thing. And we have not seen anything past that yet. So, well, they always come back and say it's a 0. That's always their first. This has no value. And it's like, all right, well, that can't be true. You can't say every single property that has been conserved or donated has 0 value. That's illogical. And that is not something that seems legal because they've just put a rubber stamp 0 on everything. So we're fighting the fight, doing what they ask. We work actually very closely with them, and we've spent a lot of time in their offices. By we, I mean David Johnson and our lawyers, a lot of time in their offices, and we'll give them whatever they want to see. David is he likes to say it, open kimono. He will tell you anything, answer any question, much to some of us wholesalers' surprise. And we're like, oh, you just said that in a room full of 100 people. Not what I would have said. But he's just that honest and authentic, which I think is a nice change from what we've seen. Yeah. Anybody else?
It's just sad because I just had a client, and when he was investing in me, I said, this stinks. And if it stinks to me, it's going to stink to you. They all just got called. Because the multiplier was really stupid, and I'm like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
So we've got 16, 17, 18, and 19 that
was I bet I could guess
the name.
Yeah.
And you would probably know this. On 170,
We'll see.
On 170A.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you impacted at all by the 250% rule? The multiplier can't be more than 2.5?
No, that's with CEs. Yeah. I'm like, maybe I don't know this. No, that's why it made it not really lucrative for partnerships to do it. That rule that they put in, that's the change they made in 2022 that they slipped into that bill that had all that good stuff for first responders and things. And that got slipped in right there. That's what made it that billionaires still do CEs, and it's worthwhile for them to do it by themselves. But when you do it in a partnership, it doesn't end up being as valuable to the investor. So that's why we made the pivot. We still do, even though fee simple has not shown to be audited at the rate that conservation easements were, we still do all the same things that we did with CE for fee simple. We would much rather do more and spend more money to do it the right way than to have to backtrack and do things that cost us and the investors. We still follow the letter to the law of how they did conservation easements, and we'll continue to do that until we see any legislative change that tells us otherwise. So if you're thinking about what client does this fit for, any of your clients who are in the highest tax bracket, need this. They don't need to send all of their money to the IRS. They need to pay what they owe. But who is it that said, I want to pay the IRS what I owe and not a penny more? Who is that?
That was his name. One of the chief circuit judges.
Yes, and he put that out there, and that is what we live by. We don't want to have people paying more than they have to. And if you put in if somebody puts in $100,000 on this, and it takes their AGI down to the place where they save, or if they put in 50,000, they save 100,000, depending what state you're in, and it's varying places. But if they're in that highest tax bracket, I was just on a call with a advisor who was doing the math for his client, because again, I'm not telling clients what to put in here, not their CPA or their advisor, but he said, yeah, you put in 50,000, it's going to give you a $250,000 write-off. It'll take your AGI down, and you're actually saving 100,000. So right away, you get a $50,000 savings. Now take that 50,000 that you would have been expecting to pay anyways, invest it in something super safe and steady for an 8 to 10 year period, because guess what? We ain't getting to tax court before that. And then you just have an investment that's compounding and growing for you, that you may or may not need to use some of it. More than likely, our prayer and our hope and the work we've done, you won't have to. But it gives the investor a little bit of ease. So if you've got clients who are doctors, if you've got clients who are lawyers, if you've got lawyers are hard because they just think everything. They're skeptical of everything. These are the kind of clients who need this, and it is a great referral source for your business. Every single year, I get phone calls, hey, my friend did this and told me I should call you. And if that's your client who's doing this, you get one doctor in a practice, every doctor in that practice the next year is going to be coming to you. It is the most powerful referral tool I've ever seen used by CPAs and advisors, because everybody tells their friends about it. They're so excited with the amount of money that they're saving in their taxes, and they feel good about it because we're working with really good organizations. Another quick thing I'll run through for you, because a lot of people struggle with, well, how is it worth that? It's just raw land. I've told you all about appraisals, but one of the statements I really like to use with people, or analogies, I guess is a better word, is, have you ever donated a piece of art? You're not going to get the price that you paid for that art when you donate that art. You're going to get what the actual value of that art is when you donate it. So you're not trying to get a 1-for-1, because you're not going off of a price paid. You're going off of valuation. But everybody struggles with that. And if you have clients who are struggling with the whys and you want us to talk to them, I'm going to give you my cards. It has my cell phone number. I talk to clients 7 days a week this time of year, whatever time, on whatever coast they are, and I'm happy to walk them through it. I'm happy to answer questions. Again, I'll answer questions I can, and I don't have any problem saying, I don't know that one, but I'll find you that answer. And I can help you with paperwork. We do everything on a portal. It's super streamlined. You go into the portal, you can send the link straight to your client. They can fill out the paperwork. I can walk them through it. I can walk you through it next year, because I'm telling you, if people do this one year, they do it every single year. When you come back and they want to do it again, all their information is already in there. So it's super, super streamlined. And I think I made it to my time. I did. Look at me, guys. I don't. Oh, that's another part of our dispensability. We have no marketing materials at all. We have our private placement memorandum, which I can email you via a link. But part of our defensibility is the only things that we put in writing so that nobody can misconstrue and use it. Yeah, take it out of context, is things, they only let us use things our lawyers write. So we have a private placement memorandum. I don't know if you've ever asked a lawyer to make marketing materials, but that's not happening. So yes, it is for only accredited investors, meaning 250 for an individual, 300,000 for a couple, annual income for the last 2 years and expected for this year, or $1 million net worth, not including their primary residence. So There you go. I will hand out cards to everybody, and seriously, call me, email me. Well, call me because people put crazy things in emails. I've had people email me. What's that deal that my client can write off that $100,000 if they, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I am not selling you a tax shelter. I am selling a development deal that has a donation option. So please call me if you have questions.